We have almost everything. SpaceX Starship launch as soon as next week? New Starship lunar lander leaked, we show it clearer. Lucy's story faces a plot twist and Blue Origin is presenting their lunar lander. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. Starship updates. The anticipation for Starship's second orbital flight is reaching a fever pitch. Despite Elon Musk's initial 6 to 8 week estimate following the first launch not panning out, there are now signs that a second attempt could indeed happen this month, or even better, next week. More on that later. First, let's give Starbase a good rundown to see where we are at. With all the buzz around Starship's second flight, it's been some time since we've checked in on the build site. So let's head over there. Our visit starts at the high bay, which is bustling with activity as various ships are being worked on. To the left is Ship 32, which saw its mid-lock section merged with the rest of the prototype on November 3rd. Now all that's left is to make the aft section, home to the 6 Raptor engines, and another ship will be complete. While it may appear that progress on Ship 32 is slow, in reality the pace is actually quite swift. For comparison, Ship 30 took 28 days from the nose cone's high bay entry to the stacked mid-lock section. Ship 32 saw this phase completed in just 23 days, suggesting we might witness a record-setting pace for Starship assembly. But building a Starship isn't just about stacking metal. There's a plethora of internal hardware to install, including avionics and power systems. These components are typically added after stacking, and this phase can be even more time-consuming than the welding of the ship itself. For example, ships 30 and 31 are still within the high bay, having spent several months in assembly. They're not quite ready for rollout, but expectations are that Ship 30 will make its way to Massey's for testing soon. Shifting our gaze slightly right of the high bay, we can see the future hub of Starship production, the Star Factory. Construction is advancing rapidly here, with white paneling increasingly obscuring the metal framework. Yet this progress has come with a hint of disappointment. You may remember that Elon Musk shared a render of a Star Factory a long time ago. It showed an impressive glass front back then, offering us a window into the production line. However, the recent paneling work suggests that this vision might have been scrapped, as the front, where we anticipated glass, now has panels. With the Star Factory complete and our view obscured, spotting internal changes to future prototypes will be challenging, but we're on it. A controlled environment is crucial to keep elements like dust and rain away from the rockets to speed up the production rate. There might be a simple reason for this. The glass section might be absent due to a building redesign forced by a dispute over a small patch of land adjacent to the facility, which SpaceX doesn't own. Perhaps we'll see something similar to the Starlink factory in Bastrop, where glass was installed on a single corner of the building. Only time can tell. Thanks to Redline Heli, we can also look at the factory from a bird's eye view, where we can observe the foundations for a new phase of the Star Factory beginning to take shape. These should be completed swiftly, followed by the rise of new beams, starting with the area dedicated to nose cone assembly. As the construction of this phase concludes, we might see the last of the production tents disappear, since it currently houses all the nose cones. Want to book your own ride at Starbase and see these things in person, or just enjoy one of the coolest views in the world? Go to redlineheli.com/Felix. You'll find the link in the description. After flying myself for the first time, I recommend it even more. It is just insane. Beside the massive factory lies the RV park, providing a home for the dedicated workers who've moved to Boca Chica to contribute to the construction of the biggest rocket ever seen by humankind. As the pace of development quickens, the residential area for workers also expands. A new section for trailers is taking shape to the right. Venturing further, SpaceX is outright constructing houses. One is nearing completion and at least 5 others are in various stages of construction. We have information that SpaceX is in the process of adding an extra 100 beds to the village. Imagine starting your day with the sight of a towering super heavy booster emerging from behind the scenes of the Star Factory. That's got to be an inspiring scene to sip your morning coffee. Over at the Rocket Garden is SpaceX's parking lot for its prototypes. One of the more recent arrivals here is the Starship HLS mock-up. We were informed that SpaceX is testing cockpit and layout designs inside. Very secretive, of course, so there is not much more info than that. This human landing system program is integral to NASA's ambitions, aiming not just for a return but a continuous presence on the moon. While SpaceX has been focused solely on Mars, the lure of a NASA contract proved too tempting to ignore. SpaceX's proposal for the HLS program was notably the cheapest one, winning them the contract and sparking a massive drama, including legal actions from Blue Origin. Since they were selected, the company has revealed several iterations of its vision for a lunar starship, transitioning from the classic polished steel to a white-coated ship with solar arrays and thrusters. Recently, an ex-user named David Willis unveiled 2 leaked renders, showcasing a radically different version of the lunar lander. As with any leak, we can't confirm its authenticity. Believe me, we tried. That is why we waited to talk about this. But from the looks of it, there is a strong possibility that this one genuinely originates from SpaceX. Unfortunately, the leaked images weren't exactly high resolution, so to give you a clearer picture, our talented 3D artist Wrobel has reconstructed the model for a better viewing experience. Leave some love in the comments for Wrobel. Starting from the base, we find the lunar elevator designed to transport astronauts between the moon's surface and the Starship. This element seems consistent with previous iterations, likely using a cable system for a controlled descent and ascent. The landing legs differ significantly. They are considerably longer, and unlike the ones on the publicly shared renders, they lack any visible covers. Looking upwards, the most significant difference is the solar panels. In contrast to the compact solar array wrapped around the hull as shown in the official pictures, these panels give off Orion vibes. Their design suggests either a roll-up mechanism similar to iROSA panels or perhaps a foldable array stored in the upper compartment. The second leaked render recreated by Wrobel indicates that it has 5 such panels. Behind them we can spot the shielded thrusters. It's been confirmed that these descent thrusters, not the Raptor engines, will be responsible for the final lunar landing maneuvers. Their configuration sets them apart in this new design. They are clustered into 4 distinct sections, each encased in some form of protective shielding. Moving further up, we encounter the airlock hatch, similar in design to the side hatch of the Dragon capsule, positioned just below what seems to be windows. These would offer crew members an epic view of the environment outside the spacecraft, while also helping spot any outside damage. The second render shows us the nose cone's tip, where we can barely see a protective mechanism for the docking port. This port is essential for crew transfer between the Starship and Orion, and hopefully between the planned Lunar Gateway station in the future. This render certainly stirs the imagination, but without further details, it's difficult to pinpoint its stage in the design process. We might be looking at an early concept, and the version released to the public may more closely represent the final design. There is also speculation that this design might be reserved for future Artemis missions, which are expected to last on the moon for extended periods. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Do you believe this could be a Starship destined for a lunar landing, or is it an outdated concept? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read as many as I can. So let's tackle the launch date next. After all, that's a major question, right? As I was recording this episode, a new US notice to mariners for the Gulf of Mexico just dropped. It designates a no-go zone near Boca Chica from November 13th to the 18th. In addition to that, a second NOTMAR was released with the same dates, preventing anyone from entering the area near Starship's splashdown zone near Kauai. Maritime restrictions, or NOTMARs, aren't the only precaution before a launch. There are also NOTAMs, or Notices to Air missions. These are essential for ensuring airspace safety so no plane crashes into a rocket during liftoff. A recent NOTAM for Mexican airspace was issued covering November 13th to the 18th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. UTC. Given Starbase's proximity to the Mexican border, a mere 5 kilometers or 3 miles away, these notices are critical. The issuance of the Mexican NOTAM is an encouraging sign that the gears of launch preparation are turning. But there is more to stoke our launch excitement. Cameron County has announced road closures for the upcoming week, and the timing suspiciously aligns with potential launch windows. Although the notice indicates the closures are for non-flight activities, history has shown that SpaceX can swiftly adjust these to support a launch. They've done that many times. Given that no static fires or wet dress rehearsals seem to be on the horizon, and considering that a transportation closure doesn't require a 14-hour shutdown of the entire beach area, things are getting spicy. Finally, on November 8th, the hot staging ring stand returned to the build site, implying that all work on this part has concluded and Starship really is ready to launch. However, one piece of the puzzle is still missing. The Fish and Wildlife Service has yet to publish their assessment of the water deflector system. The release of NOTAMs and road closures could be interpreted in two ways. It might suggest SpaceX is confident that the launch license is imminent, or perhaps it's a strategic move to nudge the FWS, signaling that all systems are go. They just need the signature. While the closures extend to the 15th, a launch towards the week's end seems unlikely. SpaceX likely aims for an early week launch, providing a buffer for additional attempts within the same week should a scrub be necessary. That's because they agreed not to launch on the weekends, and the time required to replenish all used propellant and nitrogen after each attempt is about 2 to 3 days. An attempt on Monday or Tuesday will give them time for a second attempt during the same week. Who knows, maybe in just a week from now we'll be analyzing the outcome of Starship's second orbital launch. If, however, Starship doesn't launch next week, things may get really complicated. Remember the potential US government shutdown in September averted by a temporary 40-day funding extension? We talked about it. That stopgap expires on November 17th. Without delving into the politics, it's possible that if a resolution isn't reached, we could see a halt in federal operations starting November 18th. This potential government shutdown is so relevant to Starship because the Fish and Wildlife Service, being a federal entity, would be among those agencies suspending activity. So we're changing from slow to never. If the launch license isn't secured by the 18th, we could be facing an extensive delay, the duration of which is anyone's guess. Let's cross our fingers that that's not what will happen. What are your thoughts? Is the license around the corner, or is a launch this year starting to seem unlikely? Leave your opinions in the comments. And here's a little task for you. YouTube might have unsubscribed you without your knowledge. Not kidding, they seem to do this frequently. Very important task, double check that subscribe button so that you don't miss our updates. While checking, hit the like button and consider becoming a wise supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. Everyone gets the same perks regardless of your contribution. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries, now including aerial and ground photos of SpaceX's progress, and countless other extras on top. The next flyover will likely happen on the day you watch this episode. No matter how much you decide to give, everyone gets the same supporter content and access. You decide what you want to give. The link to our Patreon page is in the description. Thanks to all the supporters who help fulfill dreams for our team. We can't thank you enough. You rock. Imagine you got your chair set out and you're waiting for the countdown to hit T-0. But there is that dark cloud coming in and you can already see that dreaded lightning. Weather. Anyone who's watched a rocket launch before knows how much weather can ruin the show, from dense clouds to a complete scrub. Imagine you had an app that could easily tell you if the launch will be scrubbed. With MyRadar, you don't have to guess. Say goodbye to unexpected scrubs. Wouldn't that be extra helpful? They've even taken it a step further, launching 150 satellites with SpaceX starting at the end of this year. These satellites capture images and monitor events like wildfires and hurricanes, all easily accessible within the app. Space, weather, safety, MyRadar ties it all together. With the orbital tracking, simply input a space track ID and there it is. Real-time tracking of any satellite or module you fancy. Dive in, explore, and you just might discover an indispensable companion for all your adventures. Stay ahead, stay informed with MyRadar. You're not just informed, you're prepared. Now here comes the next big headline from space. Today I have something special for you, a surprising update to a story we covered last week. So in our last episode we delved into the nuances of Lucy's voyage toward a cluster of objects known as the Trojan asteroids. 2 years into its cosmic odyssey, Lucy had its first rendezvous with an asteroid named Dinkinish. The initial pictures sent back to Earth were revealing. Dinkinish was not alone, but accompanied by a moon, effectively making it a binary asteroid system. But why revisit this news, Felix? Well, the plot thickens. While the existence of a companion to Dinkinish wasn't entirely unexpected, many in the scientific community predicted that the true nature of this special bond is more complex than initially thought. Images captured 6 minutes after Lucy's closest approach revealed that Dinkinish's friend was, in fact, not a single entity but a pair of objects touching each other, a so-called contact binary. Contact binaries are not that rare in our solar system. However, this marks the first time in history when such a system has been observed in orbit around an asteroid. Adding to the mystery is that these twin bodies are similar in dimension, which isn't typically seen with contact binaries. It is rare. The most fascinating part about this is that Dinkinish wasn't even on Lucy's list of targets until this year. It was a late addition to the mission's trajectory, mainly to test out the spacecraft's tracking hardware. Had things unfolded differently, this secret might have remained shrouded in the darkness of space. Discoveries like this remind us just how much remains unknown about our own cosmic backyard. I cannot wait what else Lucy will unearth during its 12-year expedition. And in the realm of discovery, the International Space Station awaits its own share of new discoveries with the scheduled arrival of a fresh batch of scientific experiments. All thanks to SpaceX's 29th overall cargo mission under the Commercial Resupply Services program. Using the same Dragon capsule that flew during the CRS-26 mission, this mission is set to bring roughly 2,950 kilograms or 6,505 pounds to the ISS. This payload includes 681 kilograms or 1,501 pounds of crew supplies, food, water, personal care items, etc., loads of chewing gum, for example. The cargo also includes 1,012 kilograms or 2,231 pounds dedicated to scientific research. Among the myriad of experiments is the Aqua Membrane 3, designed by the European Space Agency, which investigates innovative water filtration via aquaporins. Aqua what? Imagine a biological cell with tiny water channels with gates in front of them. These proteins allow water molecules to flow through while stopping pollutants such as dirt or salt particles. The potential here is for a highly efficient, low-energy solution to treat wastewater aboard the ISS. Another interesting study on board Dragon is NASA's ILLUMA-T. This experiment will use a terminal mounted to the station's exterior to test out the use of lasers in achieving high-definition optical communication. The target? The Laser Communications Relay Demonstration, or LCRD system. A satellite nestled in geostationary orbit which will bounce the laser back to Earth. This could be revolutionary. Imagine a network of such terminals placed around Mars. We could have a live video from Martian explorers like the Perseverance rover. Additionally, the capsule is loaded with 585 kilograms or 1,289 pounds of supplies, ranging from spacewalk gear to vehicle hardware and computing resources. The launch is scheduled for November 10th, so as you watch this video, the Falcon 9 with any luck has already soared from LC-39A, with Dragon making its approach for docking with the ISS. While resupply missions to the International Space Station are fascinating, we are slowly moving towards a new era of space exploration where the moon is our target once again. Earlier, we touched upon SpaceX's Starship human landing system, set to play a pivotal role in Artemis missions 3 and 4. However, in its forward-thinking strategy, NASA aims to diversify its lunar landing options. The goal is to ensure redundancy by contracting 2 separate companies to develop lunar landers. That's why in May 2023, NASA selected Blue Origin with the national team to develop the Blue Moon lander for the Artemis 5 mission, which targets a launch window around 2030. See? No legal action needed. Currently, Blue Origin is working on two versions of this lander, the Mark 1 and the Mark 2. The Mark 1 variant is a cargo lander designed to deliver rovers and establish the initial infrastructure for future lunar bases. On the other hand, Mark 2 will be able to provide life support for up to 4 astronauts for up to a month on the lunar surface. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Blue Origin, has recently showcased a mock-up of the Mark 1 lander to NASA representatives in Huntsville, Alabama. Although in typical Blue Origin fashion they've dubbed it a cargo lander demonstrator, in reality it's just a mock-up, not a vehicle used to demonstrate a landing. Yet this shouldn't cast doubt on the progress Blue Origin is making. Their BE-7 engine, which runs on liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, is well into development, with test footage of its thrust chamber assembly released as far back as March. Work on the Hydrolox thrusters, crucial for the lander's maneuvering in space, is also underway. Behind closed doors, there must be considerable progress considering 2 risk reduction missions are scheduled to launch before 2026. These landers will be lifted using the New Glenn rocket and will serve as a field test for critical systems including flight computers, avionics, thrusters, and power systems. This technology is shared across the Mark 1 and Mark 2 landers, allowing them to mitigate the risks associated with the more ambitious Artemis 5 mission. Yet, just like with SpaceX, there remains a healthy dose of skepticism regarding Blue Origin's ability to adhere to the deadlines. Especially given a significant technical challenge, the issue of hydrogen boil-off. While hydrogen as a propellant is not new to us, the challenge lies in keeping it cool. Keep it cool. With a liquefaction point at a staggering -253 Celsius or -423 Fahrenheit, maintaining this temperature for extended durations has stumped many engineers. The question is, can Blue Origin solve this massive challenge and revolutionize space travel? I really hope so. That's it for today. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and helps us immensely. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A link is in the description. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. 23. Licking upwards. An attempt. Spepticism. See? No. See? No.